Murphy's Law, folks. Murphy's Law. Welcome to Mobile Agent TV. I am Michael Thorne of Remax Little Oak Realty in Langley, BC. And Dave and I have had my fair share of technical problems to start the show. In fact, Glenn's not even here yet, although we've already been on a hangout with Glenn, just not the right hangout. And it seems like we complain about this a lot, Dave, but it is the fluidity of technology as we go through. This continues to happen. So we apologize for everyone jumping in. Dave, do you know, so we're going to have our little banter. We're going to talk about the next episode. We'll get all that out of the way. Glenn will join us, and we'll go from there. Dave, do you know more Tamaras or Tamaras?
I know more Tamaras or what?
Tamaras or Tamaras?
I don't know either one.
Oh, really?
Okay, so there's what's Tamara Stone? Oh, here he is.
So there we go. There we go. Glenn, we are already on the air, so when you get on, don't curse about how difficult this has been. I can see your photo. You're coming. We're on the air already. The reason why I say that, Dave, is I've gone a lot of Tamaras in my life, a lot of Tamaras. And next week's guest is Shannon and Tamara Stone. And every single time I see Tamara at an event or we're chatting, I get flustered in making the mistake. And so I just, if I say it next week, if you just want to pop in and sort of remind me, I mean, she's pretty good about it, but I always feel guilty about it. But next week, we're going to have the Stone Sisters on, and we're going to be talking about building a reputation, building a brand, and how sort of that the referral network and the brand and all that sort of stuff is aligned. So that's next week's episode. And I do want to reach out and say a super happy birthday to Dave, one of our probably favorite guests, or in the top 5, 10 anyway, the most charming man I may have ever met in my life. He's a 3-time guest on the show. It's Nathan Dart's birthday today. So happy birthday, Nathan Dart. Great guy. Let me see. Oh, Mets and Jays are in wild card spots. You called those a long time ago. You also called the Red Sox. They've already clinched the division. You're like a Nostradamus of baseball predictions. It's fantastic. Last week I wanted to tease out, have you made a Super Bowl pick yet?
Well, here's what I will tell you. It's similar to what you said. I would love to see the Jets there, but that isn't going to happen because of the Patriots. So I believe that the Patriots will be there in the end, and most likely the Carolina Panthers.
Ooh. It's about well, there you go. I mean, they got I
think that's what you're going to see
right there. So that's good.
That's just kind of, we'll see how it all shakes out. So just kind of frame this part of the show, and at the end of the year when they're both in the Super Bowl, we can kind of play it back again like all the other times. I wish I could make some money.
You've been scary right over the years. You've been scary right, Dave, over the years. You can interact with us live using the hashtag MATV Live. You can also get us on Twitter at Mobile Agent TV, as well as if I've embedded this properly, because we've had to re-embed it like 3 or 4 times. When you're watching on YouTube, you can talk into the comments section and send us comments. We are on the air. I am watching on YouTube right now, so there we are. We're good. We're at it. iTunes. A lot of people, Dave, watch the show. I guess actually listen to the show as an audio podcast. And there was a hiccup with iTunes. We're all back up to date. I squared it away with iTunes. They were awesome about it. So you can go down there. You can subscribe. You can listen to our episodes. The only thing the only thing you miss is awesome T-shirts like the one I'm wearing or our pretty faces. Other than that, the content is kind of the same. All right. So today's guest, I am so pumped about this particular episode because I don't remember, Dave, in my short time with RE/MAX, 24 years in the industry, 5 years with RE/MAX, an announcement that RE/MAX has made that I think has a bigger impact for brokers and agents worldwide than the one that was made last month at the Broker Owner Conference. And now we're going to really get into the details because I think it is an absolute game changer for our agents and our brokers. So to tease that out, today's guest is Glenn Shimkus. You can get him on Twitter at Glenn Shimkus. That's 2 N's. And as always, we read out our guest's 160 Twitter bio. He's the VP of Product at DocuSign, the co-founder, CEO of Cardivi, since acquired by DocuSign, entrepreneur, advisor, mentor, and investor. Welcome back to the show, Glenn Shimkus.
Excited to be here, and I'm excited too because I'm taking notes on Dave's picks here.
Yeah. Well, he's always right. I mean, he's always right. He's always right, Glenn. Now, I did a little bit of research, and it's hard to believe, Glenn, that you were on episode number 18 on June 27th, 2013, Dave. How much does time goes by? That was three plus years ago. Glenn was on the show, episode 18.
Wow.
So Glenn, a lot has changed with Cardivi. At the time, it was Cardivi that was on the show, you as Cardivi. A lot has changed over the past 3 years. Just walk us through the evolution of Cardivi, now DocuSign in the transaction room, and where we are now compared to where we were 3.5 years ago.
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, there's been so much that's happened, and when we had discussions with DocuSign years ago about partnering up and combining forces, it was a big decision. It was a big decision for myself and my family, for our team, for our customers, and as I look back, it's been a great decision. A lot of the things that we wanted to see happen as a result of joining forces have been there. So, it's a matter of in that period, we have significantly ramped up the team faster than we could have if we would have been an independent company. And we have the full resources of DocuSign behind us. So things like onboarding a new brokerage, right, which is a big deal with our Remax deal. It's an intensive period, and there's a lot of best practices to share. We now have kind of this global team of DocuSign that is helping us with the implementation. Our customer support, we have customer support facilities across the globe to answer calls when they come in and respond whenever they come in across the globe. And it's so important to have the breadth and depth and expertise that is within DocuSign proper that we can bring to bear, because DocuSign's been doing big deals like with Bank of America and Microsoft and these big companies for quite a while. And now, as we're doing very substantial implementations and partnerships like with Remax, that's really important that we have a team of folks that we can rely on within the company that have done these global rollouts, global implementations. And it's, as you know, it's not just product. It's how do you make sure we're implementing right down at the brokerage level? How do we make sure we have the right support? How do we make sure we have how-to videos? And so we now have all of that is a part of our tool belt that we can go when we do a deal like this that we bring to the table.
One of the things we touched on, Dave, that particular episode, and we touched on it many, many times since, is your and my firm belief that every agent moving forward will be paperless. It's just a matter of time, whether the consumer demands it or the broker demands it. Everyone will be paperless. Dave, you and I agree on that, and that was 3.5 years ago. Glenn, looking at the industry at large, how far have we come as an industry with that inevitable result in the last 3 years?
I think quite far along, but there's still work to be done, right? I think agents have moved along the line in terms of more and more agents are adopting. I think we've seen the topic of this paperless transaction or digital transaction become very, very top of mind for brokerages large and small, the big brands like Remax. And we're continuing to see a substantial amount of acceptance in the market from the consumers. And so I think we've come a long way. Now, what I would say is we still have ways to go in terms of getting everyone to adopt. And the real opportunity and what we're focused on next at DocuSign is how do we make sure that this is a truly seamless transaction from lead to close, such that when you're doing something, you're never going to paper. And when we talk about that, we're talking about like e-notary, we're talking about filing the note, we're talking about hopefully getting to an e-closing for mortgage. And there's a lot of parties that are involved, but our vision and where we're trying to execute against is let's flip the equation and let's think about this from the buyer or seller perspective. They don't want to deal with stuff with the brokerage and some of it's paper, some of it's not. They don't want to deal with some of it with their mortgage or loan officer and some of it's paper and some of it's not. And then it's a duplicate of information. And then you have title. So how do we flip it around to make sure all of those pieces are tied together and really truly deliver an exceptional experience, fully digital, to that buyer or seller?
Yeah, and Dave, I know you hear this. I mean, one of the things we hear quite often is from an agent that necessarily doesn't push forward with being paperless because, you know, they don't feel the need that the consumer absolutely wants it. But it's a funny thing, you and I being paperless, we hear confessions from our clients that maybe don't confess to a previous agent. I get a referral from someone who's not in my marketplace. They've just sold their home. They're coming to Langley to buy a home. And then halfway through the transaction, they make a confession like, why wasn't my last transaction that I just did last month done this way? I don't think that's something they say to someone who's utilizing paper. I think it's a confession that's made once they've had the different experience. Dave, you have clients that go, why did I have to sign paper last time if I could have done it this way? And that seems more and more prevalent, that the consumer is going to demand this. It's a much better experience.
Well, absolutely is. And it's kind of, you know, it's made everything go along pretty quickly. And every day, we were just telling Glenn off before we got on before that I just did this morning a transaction where everybody on the transaction was in the loop. Everybody immediately, the attorney, title company, both attorneys, buyer and the seller, and both realtors. And it was like in an hour, we had this whole thing put together, and it's out of attorney review already in one day. It's amazing, and it's more and more happening because in the beginning it was a struggle to get more
and ultimately we have to realize that this is about the consumer. Like, not only is it a big win for us and for brokerages, the win that matters when it's all said and done is it a win for our consumer? The rest of it will work itself out. And this is not something we're trying to push on our industry because it benefits the individual agent or benefits this brokerage, which it certainly does. But there's no doubt it benefits the consumer, especially in a time when, Dave, we're no longer the gatekeepers of the data. Our value proposition, yes, I did get a haircut, Valerie Garcia. Thank you very much. No longer are we the gatekeepers of the data. That's not our value proposition. And I tend to suggest that our value proposition is delivering an incredible experience and walking them through a difficult transaction. And if that's our value add and no longer the data, there's no better experience when it comes to the incredible amount of paperwork that transpires than to offer that in a paperless solution. So we can go through, and we will go through it today, guys. We're going to get into the huge announcement. We're going to get into all the details of it. But I wanted to lay some groundwork at the beginning of the show. And Glenn, I was going to ask you at the top of the show, now that we got 15 minutes late, you can just say yes or no. Do you have a hard out? Because there's a lot of times we got to get going here. Do you have a hard out today?
I don't.
Okay, awesome. So I've had a number of phone calls with DocuSign people over the last week or so, lining up this particular episode. I was going to go out, or I went out to Remax Recharge, and I talked about DocuSign. I'm off to Boston to talk about DocuSign. And I wanted to make sure I got the details straight. And some of the amazing facts that came out, and I'm going to, hopefully I say them properly, but this is where we are today versus where we were in 2013. There was 5.25 million transactions done, I believe, in North America, could be the United States, last year. 5.25 million transactions. And 2.7 million of those transactions were touched in some way by DocuSign. Like, that's an amazing stat. And I think it does get to this tipping point, because if there's 2.7 million, not nearly half, but getting close to half transactions touched by DocuSign, that means other agents are exposed to DocuSign. They're like, whoa, this was done well. Other buyers and sellers are exposed to DocuSign. They go, oh, I'm going to do it this way in the further. So when you talk about half the transactions, lenders and mortgage brokers and attorneys and all these people being involved in these transactions, we're at a tipping point where people see that it was a better way of being done. I know when I do a paperless transaction, the other agent on the other end says, all right, I get it. Now I'm going to have to do this. That was too easy. So, Glenn, 2.7 million, like 40%, 45% are touched by DocuSign. That must just encourage you guys to see that we are getting through, that people are being exposed to a better way of doing the transaction.
It is. It's encouraging, rewarding, and I'll tell you, it gets the entire team focused and fired up to continue to keep the head down and drive value. And you know, and I think honestly, that's to me one of the greatest values of DocuSign is these people, right, that are buying or selling that you're introducing and saying, okay, we're going to sign the contract now, whether it's an offer or you're going to put in some sort of change, a disclosure. They're doing that through DocuSign. And one of the best parts about it is DocuSign is the global leader in electronic signatures and digital transaction management. And so the value is how many times now are you sending it to a client and say, oh, by the way, hey, I'm going to have you sign it electronically using DocuSign. They're like, oh, great, I use DocuSign at work. And I think it's that level of comfort, and it not only feeds on itself in real estate, as you just talked about, but in business in general. And that's the business of DocuSign, is taking what used to be paper and making it fully digital, fully electronic, and really driving that digital transformation in organizations, including real estate.
And the other stat that came through on this conversation was the fact that, and I believe I got this right, that there's 260,000 paying DocuSign real estate users around the world. And so when you look at that stat, 260,000 people using DocuSign, and we're not even lumping in other paperless transaction options out there. But Dave, the people doing those transactions aren't the 1-2 deals a year, 3-4 deals a year type people. When you talk about the 260,000 agents, we had Chris Lindahl on the show 2 weeks ago, and he says that they're doing somewhere around 600 deals this year, and he says that's an impossibility with paper. You can't do large volumes. So out of that 200, I would suggest, and maybe off the top of my head, that you're getting close to 50% or so of the top producing agents. If there's 260,000 agents around the world using DocuSign, you are getting to the top producer, because this is, Dave, a battle of time. We are in a battle of time when we're scaling our ability to deal with consumers. And no better time saver than not running around after paper. There's just no way that you've created more time for yourself. You just said you've got the deal done. Everyone's in the loop. Everyone's done. One day you've moved on, which allows you now to spend 3 hours a day with a new buyer or another seller. Time is the efficiency of time is the biggest reward.
Well, and the innovation of teams. I mean, and you said it, the people at the top are continuing to do more and more business. And the competitiveness between the teams to get, to do the 600 transactions, for that to be efficient, it makes no sense to do 600 transactions if you're not going to make sufficient income at the end of the day. And the only way to do it, absolutely, is with paperless. I just don't imagine how you could possibly do that without it. I mean, you could, but you wouldn't take home any money at the end of the day. You'd have to have 10 different admins running around doing your work for you.
Yeah, I totally agree. So we're going to get to the announcement details. I keep teasing it, but I do want to get into a conversation I had with what are still those objections that we hear time and time again from the agents. I get out and talk. Glenn, we bump into you at R4, and I say to you, much like when I say about BombBomb, I say, why hasn't everyone who walked past your booth signed up? I don't understand why there's an objection to the technology. One of the objections that we hear quite often is the security objection, the false pretense that paper files in the trunk of your car or in your crawl space are somehow more secure than online. And I believe I was talking with Sean, he says, you know what? First of all, the first thing DocuSign is a security company first, and other things second. Talk about the enormous security and the fact that argument just doesn't hold water when it comes to trunk your car or with DocuSign.
There's one word that we want to evoke when people think of DocuSign, and that's trust. It is all about trust. It is all about security. And, for DocuSign, we as a company have made substantial investments in security, in the security of our servers, the processes for onboarding our employees, who can see what, which is no one in our team, can see any of your documents, any of your transaction details, because it all starts with making sure stuff is properly secured. And when you think about it, I joke all the time, I travel quite a bit. We've run into each other at all these conferences. And if I went into the bank and they did a verification on my signature, they'd reject it. And the reason is because my wife's the one who signs all of the stuff, used to sign it in our house with a paycheck, for example, or a deposit slip. Well, when you move to digital, there's so much that we can tell. We can tell what IP address of the computer. We literally, when you sign in person within the transaction room product using our signatures, I literally could be sitting down with you and say, okay, I'm going to take a picture of this signing ceremony. And then in that log around when you just signed this offer, I have your picture, I have geo coordinates. I have a map showing us exactly on the map where we were. I have the IP address. And if you could imagine, it's one of those things. Could you imagine going to court and saying, sorry, that wasn't me? Be like, okay, so that's not your picture. You weren't at that place, which we could prove out with your phone and all these different things. It is so much more secure, but it starts with, we have made a substantial investment as a company, you know, in terms of a security staff. We have some of the best and brightest people that we've brought over from Amazon, from eBay, and I will put our company on par with any cloud company in the world in terms of security, availability, reliability. And I think, again, that's the strength of DocuSign. But as you said, it comes back to one word, and that's trust.
And so you're talking about also the security of the signature. What's the security of, now we're transferring over to like transaction rooms? What's the security of long-term storage? We're obligated as agents, as companies, to hold documents for a period of time. What's the security then going forward, signatures aside, but the safety of those files?
Yeah, and I think, again, it gets back to, you asked me the original question of being a part of DocuSign. I have all of that as we look at transaction rooms at our fingertips. And all of those folks, I have a monthly call with our Chief Information Security Officer. We have standing meetings with the security team. So all of the things that we do from a security perspective for signatures are being applied to transaction rooms. So we, for example, we encrypt documents when they're transferred from your computer or your phone into our system. We encrypt them when they're stored. And little things like, we don't believe, and none of our team can ever see your documents, the contents of them, what they are. They can't see your transaction data. We literally go down to that level. We do background checks on the employees. We have what they call second factor authentication to access the servers with like a little key fob that someone has to have. And so at every step of the way, we've got this dedicated team that's north of 50 people that are security experts on par with anybody in the world, that are involved in, when we have a new release, they're doing an assessment. When we make changes to our infrastructure, they're involved in it. We do external penetration tests. We do all of these different things, because it comes back to, if we're not protecting and keeping your information safe on your behalf, because it is yours, we're not going to be able to keep that brand of trust in the marketplace.
Okay, so without further ado, and I love that. I mean, I love the fact that I know my documents are there and that I don't have to ever worry about them or chase them down, and they're secure. But on that note, let's get into this. I said it when it first happened, when I heard the announcement. I think through a Facebook post or a tweet that came out of the broker owner conference. And I said instantly, like, this is the biggest announcement that I've seen in alliance with another company that's going to affect the entire network. And now, this isn't an OA thing. This isn't an Integra thing. This isn't an LLC thing. This is every RE/MAX agent in the world. Is a completely global partnership. So Glenn, DocuSign and RE/MAX make an announcement at Broker Owner Conference. Do you want to sort of run down just the overall 30,000-foot view of what the alliance really means for brokers and for agents and for DocuSign?
Well, I'll start by saying that was an incredibly proud day for myself, for our team, and for DocuSign as a company. I mean, RE/MAX is such a strong brand in the real estate market. And honestly, it's personal for me. My wife's a real estate agent with RE/MAX here in Chicago. So it was a big deal and something we're really proud of, because, you know, it was an ongoing process, and the team at RE/MAX really did a lot of homework. And I'll tell you that this was not just a simple decision. They looked at everything and really worked hard to make sure they were making the right decision. And, you know, again, you're right. We're working with regions, you know, the independent regions. We're working with LLC. We're working with global. And we're trying to focus on making sure it's something that's of value, not just on paper, but we're bringing things together. Like, for example, the Max Center, or RE/MAX Integra with Launchpad, that we're tying in directly, single sign-on. So when you log into everything else RE/MAX, DocuSign is there and it's one click away. We're doing things like with Lead Street to make sure that when you have a lead a lead come in, or a property, it's one touch from there to create your transaction room and have the ability to go over there. So we're doing a substantial amount of work right now to make sure that these things are tied together, so that it's not just like a system and a partnership, but it's providing value. And like I joke all the time, you know, one of these days I'm going to run for office and my campaign is going to be save the pointer finger. And what it really means is that every time we're asking you to type on a keypad, to touch a screen, to swipe something on your iPhone, it's a click, right? And it's friction. And the more of those clicks we have, the less the adoption is going to be. So I'm excited in the work that we're doing, you know, weekly, multiple calls per week about how do we bring the pieces together so that truly, you know, it's a DocuSign, you know, platform that all agents everywhere can use. And it's not just there, it's tied together tightly with the other systems that you're using today.
And so there's multiple moving parts about the announcement, but I guess let's start here. Let's talk about transaction rooms, because through the announcement, transaction rooms will be made available to every brokerage and through every brokerage to every agent around the world with Remax for free.
Yeah, that's, again, think about that. That's a big statement. We're starting in North America and we are rolling across the globe, and it's exciting to see.
So there's really two parts. There's two products that I see in the real estate DocuSign world for all the agents that are watching right now. There's the e-signature platform of DocuSign, and then there's the transaction management back-end software program called Transaction Rooms. And they work in concurrently together. They're amazing, and they're also can be used as separate products. And I think we see out of those 2.7 million transactions that were touched by DocuSign, I would suggest that the vast majority of those are being touched as an e-signature, sent to a tablet, done in person. But Transaction Rooms is something completely different. This is your management of your product. So I've been using Transaction Rooms so that I can speak really well as a firsthand knowledge of it. And it's basically each property, each deal that you have, all your documents are stored in there long-term. I love the fact that you can put together tasks lists. So if you do certain things for buyers or do certain things for sellers, you can say, okay, this is going to start day 1. And on day 3, you're going to do this for them. And day 4, you're going to do this for them. And day 7, you're going to do this. And it really creates this very consistent experience for your consumers. All of this, you send out a document to be signed, it pops right back into the transaction room. It goes off to the brokerage for compliance in the States. So that product, talk about, because that really, isn't that what the Cardivi component was, that the transaction room has really evolved into? It's a spectacularly beautiful product, accessible from anywhere, especially for those that are in teams. And this is being offered free to every agent through their brokerage around the world. And you talk about peace of mind. You can invite your client in, your buyer, your seller, the other agent. You can make documents available. An amazing value add for every agent that's already here. And I would imagine for brokers thinking as a recruiting tool, that would just, really make a difference for a lot of agents that want to push their business to the next level. So talk about, just about maybe 2 or 3 of the really highlight points of the value of transaction rooms.
Yeah, I think you start about it is, fundamentally documents drive the transactions, right? And they need to get stored. The documents need to get viewed. They need to get completed. They need to get signed. And at the core of the transaction is this notion of the virtual room where you can invite these parties together. You have your document storage and everything's secure. You know who's looked at what. And then it's the ability to, as you talked about the tasks, make it a repeatable process. So you can say, when we have a new listing, these are the things that we're going to do. Some of them are for me as the agent, some are my transaction coordinator, some are for the seller. And then when we get an offer accepted, here's what's going to happen and when. And it helps you make sure you're doing a consistent process. It's the reminders. It gets people involved. And so it's really about defining it because, again, that helps with that experience. So tasks are really important. And then, of course, mobile is another really key area. From day one, we did not launch our initial beta of Cardivi back in the day until we had our app accepted by Apple and in the App Store starting on the iPhone because, listen, I'm married to a realtor. I know she's mobile, right? She's at open houses. She's going back and forth to the office. She's doing all these different things. And so mobile is such a key component. I mean, how amazing is it? Someone could fax a document to you. You get it in your transaction room inbox. You can get a notification you receive it. You can look at it. it may be 3 documents in one fax. On your phone, you can split it into the 3 documents. You can share 2 of them with your client and 1 with the attorney, and do all of that from your phone, kind of, you know, sitting in a parking lot.
And there's still objections to this technology. And what I really love about the transaction aspect of it, and keeping on tasks too, as well, is not only can you look at it per listing or per seller, but you can open up and say, what needs to get done today? And we'll aggregate all the different transaction rooms you have going on. And it's item number 3 of this deal, item number 17 of this deal, item number 42 of this deal. And so you can kind of really bang off your day first thing in the morning by getting some things done, knowing what needs to be done that day, creating that experience. So you can really look at it at different levels from my phone. And I love being on a team with other agents. I love the ability to know that I don't need to do that particular task because Trish has already done it, or Jordan's already done it. And to have that mobile experience is phenomenal. Now, this is not DocuSign versus another product. I'm a DocuSign customer, and full disclosure, I've never been paid anything to wear this t-shirt. I love DocuSign. I pay for my DocuSign account. But Dave, you're a dot looper. So the question, Dave, is, can you have a transaction with another agent without them being, and I'm asking this honestly because I don't know, without them being involved in the loop? Like, because the nice thing I like about DocuSign is I don't really care how the other agent does their business. It doesn't affect how I do mine and how I interact with my team members and my clients. Do you need to have someone opt into the loop to have them involved?
For them to do signatures, correct, or for them to print or download the document if it's not, you know, if I'm not faxing it to them or handing it to them. The only way for them to get the document is through the loop, and you just invite them. But you know, there's restrictions in the loop that they can just view it, they can download and print it. If they give me the emails of their buyer, if I'm on the listing end, I'll send it to them that way. But a lot of the times, from the agents that don't do paperless, what they need to do and is either download, and then they go and they print it, and they walk over to their house, or they call them in the office and they sign it. You know, I say, if you want to do things that way, that's fine with me. But, and you know, what we constantly have to do is sort of coach them. You can download it. Here's what you have to do. Go to the upper right-hand corner. There's a little drop down. You hit the little thing, and it gets frustrating. You know, I mean, I get in arguments with attorneys all the time. Yeah.
Well, you know what? It certainly does, and I'm not going to risk it, but I was going to show one of my slides from my Bruce Johnson. Thank you, sir. My new talk, the 5 things I do that most agents won't do. I've got this slide, and it's just a map of North Langley, because the argument I get all the time, you get all the time, is no, I'm a belly-to-belly agent. This business will always be belly-to-belly. Dave, you still got to put them in the car. You still got to be around these people. I said, okay, let's tackle that. Let's tackle that old school, because I am all in on that. I think relationships are in this business are so important, and I think belly to belly relationships are so important. But let's take your way of negotiating a contract versus my way. And if you're coming to Boston, come by, see. It's a great slide. So it's a map of North Langley, and it kind of the story goes like this. I get a phone call from another agent saying, we're planning to write an offer on your property or listing. I say, great. When you've got it, give me a phone call or email it to me, fax it to me. Doesn't really matter to me. They get in their car. They drive to the office. They prepare the documents. They then take those physical documents. They drive to their buyer's office or their buyer's home. They sign those documents. She drives back to the office, faxes them, emails them to me. I get in my car. I go down to see my client in Fort Langley. We sit down belly to belly. We read through the contract. We make a few changes. I send it off to the other agent. The other agent takes that contract, gets in the car, drives across town, sits down with the buyer, makes the changes, and this goes back and forth between that person and their office and the buyer's home. The whole time I'm still with my client, creating a deep relationship with someone at the most emotional part of the transaction. You want to talk about to get a great repeat and referral business. Get emotionally deep with someone, into that conversation. Be there belly to belly. We finally agree on the contract. I go home. She goes back to the office to file all of her documents, and then she gets to home. And the argument is belly to belly. And I really think where we are in this world of technology is you can use it to change the way that you want to do business. Mm-hmm. but that's up to you. This doesn't mean faxing things off and not being around your clients. I sign all my documents belly to belly in DocuSign, right? Yep. And I just think, Dave, that part of this business won't change. I think relationships are more important now than ever before. And once again, you and Vanessa haven't changed your way because you're paperless. You haven't abandoned your client. You haven't abandoned the kitchen table. So how have you integrated paperless technology with the kitchen table? I think you've probably done it the exact same way.
Well, pretty much. With this particular deal I told you about that we did today, I mean, we didn't go belly to belly with him because one of them, he's a teamster working on a construction job 50 miles from here, and she's working at her job, and they can't, get together and come in. It's a home path home. We got to get this done quick, so we did it all electronically. All right, but you're 100% right. You're not ever going to get an argument from me about taking technology and eliminating our clients. The belly-to-belly thing that you just said, I don't care. We got all the technology in the world. The belly-to-belly those are going to be the agents that are going to survive by repeat and referral business and that connection. There's way more. I mean, I could get away with all the technology if I had to and go right back to the way I was doing things before by shaking hands. I'll do a lot more business that way, but this has made doing paperless is of value to my client, both the clients in this case, because time is not on our side here. We have competing offers. I got to get this done to get the house for them. And that's why we did it that way. But you're right. A lot of ours are done right on the iPad. They're still signing that way.
And once again, time is the most valuable asset I have because I can use it to do something with it. I can make more money. I can spend more time with my kids. But to pretend that time is important to us, but not important to the Teamster guy. Like, you know what I mean? Like if it's important to us, it's important to everyone in that transaction. Once again, it's very easy for our industry to somehow make it all about us. It's very easy for us to do that. And we're last on the list. You said it, Dave, all the time. Worry about yourself last and you'll have a very successful business. Mm-hmm. Put everyone else before you. Serve people. So, yeah. Glenn, so along with transaction rooms that is with this new partnership, there's also the opportunity for brokerages to onboard the e-signaturing program, offer it to their clients or to their agents, clients, I guess we are their clients, or for those agents at great discount to go on and purchase the e-signature program to work in tandem with the free transaction rooms they're going to get at a discount that's not available anywhere else. I mean, that was very clear on the call with DocuSign that this is, your association, NAR, CREA, you're not going to get a better discount than this, or you have the ability to have that brokerage offer it to you and sort of put everyone on the same platform. So that's really if there's two real value adds, it's the transaction rooms, which is amazing, but then to tie that in with the e-signature software. So talk about that part of the agreement and the value that being added there for the brokerage or to the agent directly.
Well, it really is about the complete transaction, right? And that involves managing the transaction itself and getting documents signed throughout the transaction. And so, for us, and I think Dave said it really well earlier, or maybe it was yourself, was that, we have these two really powerful components that work seamlessly together, right? They're the same login, all of that. And you can use, if you just need to get something signed, you go to the signatures and you send it out. If you're managing the transaction, you're within it, you can work in that way as well. But again, as you talked about, the transaction rooms product, free across the board to all brokers, right? And then now you take e-signature and layer that on, and the pricing we have with Remax is meaningfully lower than the best pricing you can get out there, which was, through, as you talked about, associations like National Association of Realtors and CREA. And then there's another discount if the broker signs up with it across the board, it's even further discounted. So, I mean, it really becomes, such a no-brainer. I mean, when you think about this, right, 5 years ago, people were paying, on average, $20 a month for just electronic fax. That's it, just so someone could send something.
Yeah.
So it really becomes.
Yeah, I was paying $39 a month for a real estate dashboard, which was our first paperless for more than 10 years. And when the iPad came along and DocuSign came along, I told them I was canceling my account, and they said, well, why would you do that? I said, because I can have a way better solution for like I'm nothing, like $100 a year, which I saved in gas. Because the other thing too, back then, that solution was you had to sign in person.
Yeah.
Signature as a liquid, it was not sent through email. And so now when you could layer that option too as well. And once again, I do want to talk about service and paperless service. Dave, you know this. You need to take a fridge out of a contract. It's 11 o'clock at night. Not being in person is great customer service. There are some times in life where it's a great customer service to be belly to belly. And there's sometimes, and what you have to realize, as much as you think your clients love you, they have a glass of wine, it's 11 o'clock, they're watching the Daily Show, they do not want to see you. And that's great customer service. And I think the real key to it all, Dave, is finding out when is the best way to deliver that client experience. In person for 3 hours, writing a contract, yes. 11 o'clock at night, making an initial, or on their anniversary, or at their kid's baseball game, especially in a fast-paced market. I can get an initial. My buddy and I were on our way to a Seahawks game, and we were up down against the clock to get a deal put together. And I said, just drive. I was in the passenger seat. We got it all done, on the I-5 heading to Seattle. It didn't have to stop my life. My clients didn't have to stop their life. So you have to decide, like you said, when you held up your cell phone, a lot of it's just done right here.
All those Mets games we went to last year when they were in the playoffs, Vanessa and I, we drove to most of the games. And probably 3/4 of the time, Vanessa was sitting there with an iPad and her phone, and we were doing transactions until we got there. We locked it up in the trunk, and we were done. We did more business on the Belt Parkway in Staten Island, going across Long Island, than we did pretty much sitting here in the office last year.
Yeah, and I had a great conversation, like I said, with the folks over at DocuSign, and had a great conversation with Sarah the other day, and she sent me a couple quotes that I'd said during the conversation, and one of the quotes she sent back to get approval on was, I can do transactions in between innings of my little kids' Little League games, and so ask my kids what the value of DocuSign is. Like, ask my children what the value of DocuSign is, and that's really what it comes down to. I mean, it's work-life balance. It's the same value that adds to your customer, or to your client. Glenn, as far as the strategic alliance, let's talk strategy. Now, through this brokerage thing, you are going to get to a tipping point as an agent where the brokerage will say, look, you've already got the transaction rooms. This is how we want you to submit it to conveyancing. I don't know what the word is for in the States with conveyancing here. So it goes off to the lawyer. Since that's in a digital form, and that's the way we want you to submit it, going to find brokerages say, we're paperless. And that, as far as a strategic way for a company like DocuSign to get to the end consumer, going through the brokerage is a great way, because this is what I know about being paperless. Since I've joined RE/MAX Little Oak, you have to submit your document paperlessly. It's the only way you can submit documents to the company. We've added 3 new offices, and they haven't added one conveyancing office, like a conveyancing person. 3 new offices, and not one more person at head office dealing with contracts, because there's no need to add more people, because they're not shuffling paper. So was that a pretty, thoughtful way of saying, hey, let's get to the brokerage. Let's give them a solution. And once we've given the solution, then agents will sort of see the value, and sort of it'll all come in together? Or are we seeing more pressure from the agents, and this was the incentive to finally push the broker over the edge to go paperless?
I think you see it from both ends, honestly. I think you see a tremendous demand from the agents that are basically the pull, but you also see the brokerages, and what you talked about. It's a great example of, you have much more throughput, but you don't need additional staff to do that. And from an agent perspective, I don't think I've ever talked to an agent who said, I got into real estate because I really love paper and I really love managing documents. Maybe I'm wrong. And if I'm wrong, so I'm sure someone will tweet me, but I don't think anyone got into the business to do that. And so, what agents want to do is, there's a passion. There's truly a passion with real estate agents to help clients, to help them achieve that dream of owning a home, or in a time of need when they need to sell a property, or they have a family and they need to grow their, their house. It's such an emotional time, such an important time for them. And for the agent to be able to focus on helping them find the right property, get the right price, that's the real value added, as you talked about. I mean, it's not about, shuffling paper, whether it's the agent or the brokerage. It's about getting these deals done and helping people kind of move to that next phase of their life. And, and to do so in a way, like you talked, I mean, there's no doubt belly to belly, it's all about relationships. But boy, I tell you, when I'm doing something, I don't want someone at my house at 11 o'clock at night when I'm drinking my glass of wine on the back patio. And so it's about choice. It's about knowing when. And quite frankly, I mean, when you're dealing with millennials, some of those millennials would be like, I'm sorry, you want to come over? Why? Just DocuSign it. Come on, let's do it.
I totally agree. I want to take a bit of a tangent off to the side and talk about something that's been a theme on the show the last 3 weeks, and then tangent back to DocuSign and the alliance between Remax and DocuSign. I've had the pleasure to get to know the crew down at BombBomb a lot. I've gone down there twice to see them. I see them at conferences all the time, and the personalities that work there, the culture that's there, just oozes out in their product. It just comes out and it affects the product. I've had the absolute pleasure of talking with about 3 or 4 different DocuSign employees over the last 2 weeks in prep for the 2 talks and for this particular show. Blown away by the people that work for DocuSign, their character, their kindness, their professionalism, their passion for the product. As agents that have team members, we talked about culture. Why is that? And it's a really new thing. Like, why is that so important? And what effect does having a great team like that, and you've already referenced it like 5 times in today's show, that the talent that you guys have and the passion that these employees have, how does that end up impacting the product that ultimately impacts what agents do and the experience that clients have? Like, why is that so important, or why is it so prevalent within DocuSign amazing culture?
Well, I think it starts with what you said. Is in real estate, it's a relationship business, and it's no different for us as within DocuSign with our customers. And I'll tell you, I mean, we today to this point, north of 2,000 employees, and we still hire like everyone. It's not good enough that you're talented. That's the table stakes that everyone has. We will pass on talented people that don't have a great attitude, that aren't passionate. What we want, and where you get the 1 + 1 = 3, is where you get a team of exceptionally talented people, but at the same time, good quality people who have a passion for, who care about it, who care about our customers. We have, our engineers, our QA folks go to conferences. We want everyone to interact, to feel it, to see the impact that they're having, because those are the people you're in the trenches with. When we do releases at 10, 11 o'clock, on a weeknight, those are the people that are going to be online with you, and you're working through it. And, it's like, all right, it's go time. When we're doing something, everyone gets together and works together. And, we're doing a hackathon right now in San Francisco with all of our engineers from pretty much across the globe. And it's a team, and the team goes out. They went to the Giants game last night, and it really is a family. I mean, I know that's a cliche and it's oversaid, but it really is. And you have to start with people who get along and are really passionate about a common goal.
I love that quote. It's not good enough that you're talented. I think that's speaks probably volumes, Dave, to when you guys bring on people on the team. It's not good enough that you're talented. There's so much more to the overall value and culture and success and happiness.
That's exactly what we're looking to do this year, and we've just had some meetings about it. And it's actually the same thing with our clients. We do the same thing with our clients. You gotta want to have fun to buy a house. I mean, I don't know. It just doesn't make any sense to me at any level of your life to be around people that are just not happy. They're not passionate about something. They don't have a smile on their face. Come on, let's live life and let's get it done. The culture thing on teams and businesses, you can see the ones that have the great cultures. They're the ones that are just rising right to the top, and they're the ones that are going to come out right on top when it's all over.
Yep. And I also think you get a whole lot more out of someone when they feel like there's something greater than just the 9 to 5
Not about the compensation
coding.
even sometimes. It's like, it's just like a great place to work.
So the question is then, Glenn, access to this. Like, so I'm an agent. I'm in, Tulsa, Oklahoma. Is that a place, Tulsa, Oklahoma?
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I want transaction rooms. I'm already an e-signature customer. I want access to transaction rooms. The transaction rooms through the broker. So how does this go? Like, RE/MAX is a big, huge network, and to get all the information out to every agent, to every brokerage is a monumental task that you guys have. If I'm an agent, how do I get access to the transaction rooms? How do I start implementing this into my business right now?
Yeah, I would say first, if you have a DocuSign contact that you've worked with in the past, whether it's one of our account executives, account managers, even our customer support, you can call and start the conversation, and we will absolutely walk you through what does this entail, how do we get started. We are putting together a substantial amount right now with the RE/MAX team about how do we communicate this to the field and what that rollout looks like in the coming weeks ahead. And by the way, it is weeks that we're going to be pushing this live. And at the same time, if you don't have someone at RE/MAX or at DocuSign that you've been in contact with, if you simply go to DocuSign.com/real estate, you actually can find, the contact details and reach out to us and start the conversation. And, and at the same time, if you want to tweet me at Glenn Shimkus, I'll put you in touch with the right person at DocuSign. So there's a million ways to get in contact with us, and we are getting ready to do the rollout. We're really excited about it. It's, a lot of work's gone into this on both the DocuSign side and RE/MAX side, and lots of communications are going to be coming, but please don't hesitate. Reach out to us right away, and we'll kind of get you at the top of the list.
Glenn, I would assume that this has to go through your broker, correct?
It does. Yeah. So it goes through the brokerage, and someone from the brokerage just reaches out to us. But there is an opportunity, as Michael said earlier, about you can just get, as an agent, if you want today, and you're not using our signatures, you can get that today at a cost meaningfully below what you can get through, for example, your association.
And and that's one of the things too as well. I mean, there's definitely cheaper solutions out there than DocuSign, and that's been the argument I've heard from a lot of agents. Yeah, but I save $40, so I'll use this product, and I'm always like, I want the best product. With this discount, that objection starts to go away. You're getting the world, the leader in transaction management. You're getting a company that I think all Fortune 500 are involved in, or a lot of the Fortune 500 are involved in. We're talking about Bank of America and that sort of stuff as far as security goes. And so that little argument about saving a few bucks, once again, is a transactional mindset, not building a business anyway. But that starts to go away. Before you go to as well, Glenn, I'm not blaming you guys because you're a big company, but you sometimes don't get the secrets out to people. And I'm a Gmail user. I'm a Chrome guy. As I've said before on the show, the only thing you should use Internet Explorer for is to download Chrome. And on one of the calls, I think it was with Sean, he says, "Hey, have you checked out our DocuSign Chrome extension?" And I said, "What? Our DocuSign Chrome section?" And I signed a document last week by clicking a little icon on the bottom of my email and not going into DocuSign. It is as brilliant as the bomb Gmail integration, which has changed our business. DocuSign in Gmail, in Chrome. I mean, I'm sure you guys don't purposely keep these things a secret. Blew my mind. Talk about that product.
It's so amazing, and so we have it. Of course, you're a Google Gmail guy, but we also have a great partnership with Microsoft with the Microsoft online.
I apologize
Microsoft
for my previous statement about Internet Explorer. I take that back. I didn't know you guys were with Microsoft.
So it's across the board.
My bad. Sorry.
So many, no, it's both. It's both, and that's the value. And I mean, I think that there's so much. That becomes the challenge when there's so many talented people, there's so much innovation happening within a company like DocuSign. It's hard to get it out without overwhelming people. All of these wonderful things we're doing. And by the way, just one comment on, like, when you talked earlier about, people can save money in, $40. I think one of the biggest things that people don't understand with DocuSign is ask anyone else out there, will we stand with you if someone ever challenges the validity of a signature? DocuSign will do that and has done that. And we're always like right behind you. If someone uses DocuSign to sign it, we're going to stand right behind you as a company with all the resources that we put into Bank of America and Microsoft, into Mr. or Mrs. Real Estate Agent, to make sure that that signature is proved out. And that's an important differentiation.
And so, yeah, I encourage you guys all to check out the extension. And just to tell you real quick, you open up an email that has a PDF in it. There's a little icon on the bottom that has a little DocuSign. You just click it, it opens up. You either then can send that off to a client in an envelope through DocuSign, or you can just sign it. Yep. Right there. You just sign it, and it's done. And sometimes there's a lot of things in our life, Dave, that we're signing that aren't really real estate contracts. But like I have the permission slip for school. Like now I can just click and it's done, or something to my accountant, or signing off stuff. It's free if you have a DocuSign account. It's there for you to use. It's amazing. But Glenn, just before we let you go, and I know that we've gone way over, but talk about one of the criterias that RE/MAX had, was that not only do you have to have a great product to add a ton of value, but you have to offer an unbelievable level of support, or it's a relationship that's not going to move forward. And you've carved a lot of energy and money aside to provide a RE/MAX agent with unmatched support. So ongoing too, as far as implementation, figuring it out. Talk about the importance or the way RE/MAX said, hey, look, yeah, we want this, but once again, we're a world-class brand. You're a world-class brand. We have to have a world-class value, and that support is a part of the enormous value of this alliance between the two brands.
Well, I'll tell you, there's no doubt in my mind that RE/MAX, the team kind of out of Denver that's really looking at all this, really has a deep passion and concern for the agents and for the brokers, and did a lot of homework to make sure they were choosing the right decision, making the right decision, choosing the right product. And it's certainly an important part of that is support and implementation when you have questions. And with this deal, we actually have a dedicated RE/MAX support team within DocuSign, extended hours. And, we want, I always have to think of a better way to say this, and I'm not the sales guy. It's like, for me, I really don't care who signs up. I care about using, and we're really passionate about getting people not only to sign up, that's wonderful, right? But the real value is start using it. And Dave and I were talking before we went online. It's the best thing in the world when you get someone who wasn't using it, who uses it, and they're like, oh my God, this is the greatest thing ever. I have no idea how I did things before. So much so that, of course I have a shirt like that, and I have plenty of DocuSign gear. Man, I tell you, walking through airports on a weekly basis, walking down the street at conferences, it is the greatest job in the world, where you get to just be anywhere and have DocuSign on, and people are giving you hugs and saying, I love DocuSign. It's like, man, does life get any better than this?
Yeah, I agree. You're solving a problem. And like I said before, if the support you're going to get through DocuSign, which I'm sure it is anything like the interaction I've had with DocuSign in the last 2 weeks, it'll blow your mind. It's just same thing with the BombBomb guys, Dave. It's these companies that, once again, and RE/MAX is the same way. You don't get to be DocuSign. You don't get to be RE/MAX. You don't get to be BombBomb in a 2016 world by accident. This is not an accident. This is about surrounding yourself with people that are a whole lot more than just their talent. Chris Lindahl doesn't sell 600 homes a year by accident. Though gone are those days that a big billboard and an ad in the Yellow Pages meant that you could get customers. We're in a reputation world now, and you either deliver on your promises and you build a cult-like following where people stop you in the airport, or you don't deliver, and everyone's going to know that and agents need to embrace that world too as well. This transactional behavior will catch up to you so quick because everyone's going to Google your name, and if the reviews are, he thought of himself first, didn't put me first, that's going to come back and haunt you. So this is not new, Dave. This having a successful business is never a fluke.
No, it's excuse me. No, it's not. And we've talked about, let's just go back 2 years, some of the things we were saying about paperless and video and all the things that you had to do to embrace, or you were going to get left behind. Well, now we're there, and that's my takeaway. We're going to get to that pretty soon. It's the same thing. We're here. If you're not doing paperless, you're already left behind. You're done. So it's exciting. It's what's kind of kept me in the business. I love it.
Yeah, and you know what, and on that note, I love the fact that there's company, you know, like, because I was in a sort of, it's not a regional company, but it is, you know, these opportunities at a small regional company never presented themselves. Our little regional company wasn't going to go out in with DocuSign and create an alliance like that. Like as a Remax agent, like as a recruiting tool for brokerages or the reason to add more value, like when this starts to roll out, you know, this is win, 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 win. This is win for the conveyancing. This is win for the brokerage. This is win for the agent. This is win for the consumer. This is win for our brand. It's a win for recruiting. It's a win for retention. You know, that sort of thing. That's it blows my mind. And so if you're a broker, start talking with your agents. If you're an agent that hears this, start talking with your broker. Start getting involved in this. And like you said, Glenn, and we've talked about this with Evernote. We've talked about CRMs. These sort of technology isn't half the time I'm going to put my clients in a CRM. It will never work. Half the time I'm going to use DocuSign to do the transaction. It will never work. Like you kind of full on embrace this half measure of doing it now, doing it then only creates more chaos because then you don't know where the document is. You're not creating a repetitive experience and things sort of go off the rails. As well as just the last, you know, single sign-on on Mac Center, on Launchpad. In the States, there's integration with Zip Forms. Once again, all in one place. Here in Canada, we have web forms straight into DocuSign, integrated for the brokers out there, integrated now with Lone Wolf. And so you look at all that value add, you're right. You are eliminating that friction of touching something, which ultimately means more time, better experience, and there's the value. So, Glenn, anything we miss on the announcement? It blows my mind. Free transaction rooms for every Remax agent in the network around the world. Incredible discounts. When you start hearing what the discount is, and you know, I want to make sure that every scenario is a little bit different. That blows my mind. So, anything we missed on this huge opportunity or for Remax and DocuSign?
No, I would just say, I mean, I think it's wonderful to have kind of the press release and the partnership kind of papered. You know, it's always amazing when we get to a point where we're ready to sign a deal like this, and you're able to do that on your iPad using DocuSign. It's like icing on the cake. But I think what's really important here is it's not just about kind of pricing. It's not just about service. You know, we have teams on both ends really working hard together. We're working really hard with independent regions like, you know, Remax Northern Illinois, Remax Integra, to really make sure we're tying these things together. And for us, it's all about being a platform for lead to close. And the more we can bring these intersections together so it provides value, it's really seamless. That's where the focus is. So out of the gate, you're going to see some great value. And boy, stay tuned, because we have so much coming on how we bring these things together to get the true 1 + 1 = 3. I couldn't be more excited.
Awesome. Glenn, how do people get a hold of you? You've already mentioned it. You're a super approachable guy. You've been really, really good to Dave and myself, and I appreciate that. How do people get a hold of you?
So me personally, just tweet me. I'm at Glenn Shimkus, 2 N's, as you mentioned earlier. You can get us at DocuSign. You can find us DocuSign on Instagram, on Facebook. I'm really simple too. If you want to contact me, I'm just Glenn, GLENN at DocuSign.com. Send me an email as well. I mean, we're out there, we're engaged, and would love to hear from you if you have any questions or want to get started, whatever it is.
Awesome. Dave, a takeaway from today's show, if you had a particular takeaway.
Well, it's just kind of what I said before. I mean, it's just a repeat of what we've talked about in the past. I am just blown away by the fact that there's just not everybody doing this. And now we have an opportunity. No Remax agent has an excuse. I mean, and the other agents and the other agencies do, but nobody has an excuse at Remax not to kind of get involved in this. And you want to make more money, spend more time with your family, give your clients a better experience, paperless.
Yeah, that's the big thing. And, you know, there's 5 wins to me in going paperless, whatever solution you use. You're going to lower your costs. You're going to be more efficient. You're going to create a better client experience. You're going to have a better work-life balance and make more money. What else? 5 things. Like, what else? Still don't see the argument against it. I don't see the argument against it. And once again, nor will you 3 years from now your broker will say you must be paperless, or you're going to start hearing clients that say to you and me, Dave, why wasn't my last transaction done this way? They're going to Google you, and if it's like, I'm not a paperless agent, or if that's not in your bio, they'll move on to the next person because they've had it one way. They're not going back. They're not going to go back to the old way, a consumer, especially a millennial as we move through. And look, we are surrounded by digital signatures.
Yeah.
You know, our wait staff comes to our table now. We sign digitally, right? We go to our self-checkout at Home Depot. We sign digitally. The pizza guy comes to our front door. We sign digitally. This idea that it's this foreign, weird way of doing a transaction is out the window when 2.7 million transactions of the 525 million last year were touched by DocuSign. This isn't a fringe way of doing business anymore. This is absolute mainstream. Your consumer is going to demand it. And once again, we're not the gatekeepers of the data. Your value now is client experience. You got to figure a way how to deliver that. And this is the best way to go about doing that. Next week's show is the Stone sisters, Tamara and Shannon Stone are coming on. If you've been to a RE/MAX conference, you know these two. They're fantastic. We're going to be talking about building a brand and building a reputation in the real estate industry. That's going to be October. Oh my goodness, October the 7th at 10 o'clock Pacific, 1 o'clock Eastern at mobileagenttv.com. Then I jump on a plane. I head to Boston for RE/MAX Recharge in Boston. We're going to do a live show there on the 13th. Then back here for a show, and then back on the road, I guess, down to Seattle. Oh, Whistler's next, and then Seattle. It's a crazy schedule.
Stone
It
Sisters,
seems to be.
right? The Stone Sisters.
What was that?
The Stone Sisters. Weren't they a group in the 80s? Yeah, that was them.
No, was that Sister Stone?
Disco. Yeah, the disco girls.
Maybe. I don't remember. I don't remember those days. Way too young for that. That's it. Thanks, Dave. I apologize for the technical difficulties, Glenn and Dave, and all of our viewers. And thank you to all the viewers that I can see that have stuck around and interacted. I appreciate that. I'm going to iron this out. This YouTube transfer from Hangouts is killing me. Glenn, thank you so much, man. You've been so amazing. I love your product. Thank you for spending an hour with us. Beyond thrilled with this big announcement between DocuSign and RE/MAX, and thanks for coming on and giving us an hour of your time, which is so valuable. Hopefully this will reach a lot of RE/MAX agents in the network and realize there's a huge opportunity for all of us to take advantage of. And on that note, Melanie Gallia of RE/MAX Fort McMurray wants us to end every show by asking you to spread the word to other agents in the RE/MAX network. Tell 5 other agents about Mobile Agent TV. The thought that we have a return guest from June 27th, 2013, Dave. Like, where did the time go 3.5 years ago? It's amazing that this has been an amazing adventure. Let's us reach out to amazing guests like Glenn Shimkus that will give an hour of their time. Thank you so much, Glenn. Thank you for everything you do with DocuSign. Amazing product. Dave, you're the best. Go Mets, right? And I guess wild card. Next time we talk, the season will be over, right? Season's over Sunday. So we'll know. We'll know what's going on.
Yeah, we'll see.
All right. Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Glenn. Thank you, everyone, for watching. We'll see you next week.